Hi, I'm Ravyn Lenae, and you're listening to Carbon Sound.
So, who are you?
Who am I? I am a singer-songwriter from the south side of Chicago who loves to dream, to sing, and yeah.
What brings you to Minneapolis today?
I'm on tour, the prototype tour with Omar Apollo. We're about halfway through now, so it's nice to be in the Midwest.
Definitely. So what's the last thing you need before a show and the first thing you need after a show?
Ooh, the last thing I need before I start my show, probably water. Right before I go on, I'm like drinking a lot of water because I don't drink throughout my set. Weirdly, I feel like it's a distraction, and I feel like I'm gonna spill it all over myself because I'm clumsy. So yeah. After the set, usually I'm really hungry because I don't like to eat too close to performing. So, food.
Do you have a go-to meal, like a favorite for after the show?
It depends on where we're at, honestly. Like here, what should I eat? What should I eat here?
So this is the Midwest, so lots of stuff closes pretty early.
Yeah.
If they're still open, and if you're not a vegetarian, I really like the place Revival.
Revival.
It has like really good chicken. The best here, which isn't saying a lot because it's Minnesota, but they have like good barbecue and stuff too. There's a lot of good options though. It's a surprisingly decent food city and with a lot of like diasporas. So you can get food from a lot of different kinds of immigrant populations.
Somebody told me that there's a big Ethiopian population here, so I should have got some Ethiopian today.
They stay open late.
Do they? Okay,
Yes, they
I'm
do.
getting that.
Okay.
There we go. You just helped me.
There we go. So why did you title your album HYPNOS?
First of all, when I came up with the title, I didn't know it was already a word. I thought I was real smart and made up a word. When I figured out that there was a whole story behind it, and it actually derives from a Greek legend, it made it make way more sense for me. Basically, it's about a Greek god that puts people in this trance-like state and travels through dreams and like sends messages through dreams. And I feel like my music does that in a way. And I would like to think of my music that way, as kind of trance-inducing and hypnotic in certain ways. So that's how I came up with it.
I definitely agree with you. It has that ethereal quality to it. And even with like the track titles too, Lullaby, for example, and then also the visuals with like the moon in your videos. It makes sense. Do you have a favorite Greek myth or like Greek god, Greek goddess? Were you ever into that?
I think my favorite Greek legend is Pandora's box. I just love the idea of, I don't know, a world being kept in like this small thing, and letting it loose kind of creates chaos and wonder and, I don't know, a whole different life in a way. So I just love good storytelling and almost childlike approaches to art and music.
So in your video about HYPNOS that you put out on your YouTube channel, you said you have 3 sides: funky, somber, and up-tempo. Which one were you most trying to channel tonight?
Oh, probably funky. I think when I'm on stage, I try to tap into, I don't know, that other part of me that is big and bold and loud and dramatic in certain ways. I feel like my favorite artists are able to turn it on in a certain way on stage. I love the old drama approach to showmanship, and I think some of my favorite artists or people that I love to see perform have that about them. So I try to channel that.
Yeah, and I feel like you can see that pretty clearly in some of the people you said influenced you, like Shaka Khan, Minnie Riperton, and then also Denise Williams. I would also argue Prince. Are you into him at all?
I love Prince.
Yeah. This is like Prince City.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He played this venue, didn't he?
I'm pretty sure. If not, he was lurking in the shadows somewhere. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Prince album or go-to?
I think, honestly, a lot of the stuff I love from him the most is with his writing with other people. So Vanity 6 is like some of my favorite music ever. So Nasty Girl, and just that overall era of like women being very comfortable in their sexuality and showing skin and being vulgar is really fun to me. And the fact that he was writing those songs is so impressive to me. So yeah.
Do you feel the same way about like the Mary Jane girls and like Rick James?
Yes,
that connection
yes,
too?
like that world, yeah.
Cool. So I've read a lot of interviews getting ready for this, and I didn't want to ask the same questions over and over again.
Love
so
that.
You've been asked a ton of times, like why it took 4 years between Crush and Hypnos. And just like reading those, I was wondering, like, do you think people even have the right to ask you that?
I think it's natural for people to wonder that, especially in a time where music is produced way quicker than that. I think when artists take that time, it does make people scratch their heads a little bit and wonder, like, why did it take that long? So I don't have a problem answering that question, even though it's a really big question and it's hard to answer because there's life there. We went through a pandemic, so a lot of life changes, I think, made me really want to sit still and really wait for inspiration instead of searching and forcing it in a way. So
Where does that inspiration come from for you?
I think majority of inspiration for me comes from, like I said, storytelling, whether it's friends, family, just being out in the world, So when we weren't able to do that anymore over the last couple years, it really was hard for me, and it was a challenge for me to think and be inspired beyond the four walls, I was stuck inside. So I think I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to work through that, and I don't know, I feel like I had to dream a little more in depth and bigger because I didn't have the outside world to connect to in a way.
What kind of dreams do you have, like when you go to sleep at night?
My dreams are so vivid. This week I've had crazy dreams. I had a scary dream a few days ago. I got bit by a rare spider, and there was like a mark on me, and somebody was like, hey, that bite is from like a spider and you have 30 minutes to get to the hospital or you're gonna die. So the whole dream was me trying to get to the hospital, and I called the hospital. They're like, well, we don't have any more like trucks available to come get you, so I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, I don't want to die, I'm not ready. So they get real dramatic. 2 days ago I had a dream that I was in church. I haven't been to church in Chicago in a long time, so I'm like, okay, maybe that means I gotta go to church when I'm in Chicago and say hey to people, I guess. Sometimes I take my dreams very literally because I'm like, why am I having them if I don't take them literally, But other times I'm like, my brain is on 100 right now and I need to take a chill pill.
That's real.
Yeah, but my mom says I've always been a very vivid dreamer since I was a little girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you also once said that there's power in stillness and silence. Do you think that's still appreciated in the world today? And for like, I don't know, just the demographic that was outside in the venue.
Yeah.
It's all they just show.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that we're coming back to appreciating that in music and in art. I think the pandemic taught a lot of us about patience and hard work and how that pays off, in real time. So I think that coming out of that, people do have a bigger appreciation for, I would like to think, for art in the process and how long it takes and how draining it can be at times, But then on the flip side of that, it's like we got TikTok and that shit is like very quick and, but I do think that there are a lot of real art lovers and music lovers that appreciate that time. So
yeah, it's like when Kindles first came out, it's like everybody thought books were going to die.
Yep.
But people want to still feel
exactly.
the pages
Or
in their hands.
vinyl or all of that, there'll always be a community of people that I think appreciate that time. So
for the people that appreciate that time, that have Hypnos in their hands right now, what do you want them to feel when they listen?
I want them to be able to, I think, sonically feel where I was at during that time and how I've, overcome certain things during that time. And for me, being able to connect is the main reason why I do music, and me being vulnerable and open through music, I think pays off in a lot of ways. So I don't know, I want people to listen to it and feel seen, feel heard, feel appreciated, beautiful, loved. So
Definitely.
yeah.
What's been like the coolest or most unexpected reaction you've had to the album, or you've seen to the album?
The most unexpected reaction. That's a great question. I think I was so nervous about putting out animated art for like the first visual, and I'm like, my fans are gonna hate this shit. They're gonna think like I went over the edge. I'm on some old other stuff. But they were actually very receptive and open to that idea, and they actually really liked it and thought it was forward and cool. So but I was like, oh, I know these comments are about to be like, girl, what the hell?
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
A good,
when that doesn't
yeah.
happen. Yeah. So how have you been staying sane and just having fun on tour? Have you picked up any new hobbies?
That's a great question. I think the thing that keeps me the most sane on the road is seeing people I care about and love and familiar faces while I'm traveling, because I think people don't realize how isolating and lonely tour can get. So when I'm in a city where there is family and there are friends, that kind of fuels me and feeds me in a lot of ways to, stay energized and encouraged. So,
Nice.
yeah.
So, you're from Chicago?
Yeah.
What's your favorite food to eat? Like, when you go back to Chicago, I gotta get this before I get anything else.
I mean, pizza, obviously, but I feel like Derrick's been breaking me out as I'm getting older, so I'm trying to stop, but it's so hard.
Pizza from where? And like, is it deep dish? Is it just regular pizza?
No, we don't do deep. Black people don't do deep dish in Chicago.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Not good.
That is like a once a year kind of food, if
Exactly.
maximum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I usually do. So I'm from the South Side. Our pizza is Beggar's Pizza, and it's like really thick cheese. They put the meat underneath the cheese. So people like to compare it to like Detroit style pizza. People think that Chicago is just deep dish, but we do like the square, cheesy meat underneath the cheese thing too. So yeah, Black people don't do deep dish. That's a misconception.
That's gonna be the headline of this article.
Look at them fire me up.
So speaking of Chicago too, I know you did something with Essence on October 19th-ish. And it was like a performance with the Era Footwork crew. They actually did a performance here at an art museum.
Oh, stop.
Last year too. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of footwork music in general?
I mean, I grew up around it. Like that house music is literally embedded in me, So when you have songs like Ecstasy or even older songs like Free Room, I feel like that's me kind of getting off my Chicago in a way. But yeah, that's definitely a part of my upbringing and musical, artistic culture. So
yeah, it's been like a cool thing this year to have kind of Black people see themselves more in like the electronic music space too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's expanding people's conceptions about what Black art can be.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing that too, or am I just crazy?
No, I have too. Absolutely. And sometimes I struggle with the idea of it because it's like, okay, why does this feel elevated now? Is it because it's white adjacent? Because it's in a museum? Because it's, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes I do have thoughts around it that's like, okay, like why don't we feel this way when it's just in our basement or when we're at a house party or we're, So I try to ask myself those questions, I guess, and even think inwards about my own art and how I feel about it before those goals or, those spaces are acknowledged in my art.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So you also once said, I make bad songs, but they just don't come out. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody that wants to become an artist, because I think that's great advice, but another piece of advice to a person that wants to be an artist, what would it be?
Um, I would say to find a community of people who are like-minded and who have similar goals and a similar amount of drive. Because I think coming from Chicago, that was major for me to have that sense of community, you know, like, oh, like you feel the same way or you're going through this too, you know. So being able to relate and have people champion you in that way is important.
Definitely. My last question, and it seems like a good time to wrap up. We've been talking about this the whole time, but feel free to think about it if you need to. What's important to Ravyn Lenae?
Things that are important to me always stem from the things closest to me, and that's family, friends, making sure I'm being the best at those things, whether it's being a girlfriend, being a daughter, being a granddaughter, a friend, you know, because I think that's what matters at the end of the day, making sure that relationships are fed, and through that I can approach music in a really clear and pure way. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for taking the time
today. You asked
today.
great questions.
Thank you.